A very essential part of every real estate broker's job today is negotiating. It always has been important. Today it's important more than ever because people are more specific about what they buy, more price sensitive, and because at the same time sellers are already tight on prices. It's at the same time very important to understand how to negotiate in a right way, in an ethical way. Remember, you're fighting for yourself to have your family survive and to earn. At the same time, you need to maintain the right professional and ethical standards dealing with a buyer and dealing with a seller. So when you're negotiating a property, remember, you do not need to abuse any party to have a deal done. It's your job, and this is exactly what both parties expect of you, to get the deal done. And for you to get the deal done, you need to narrow the gap or hopefully reverse the gap. If you were part of Arms and McGregor Founders Academy, you'll be able to learn about reversing the gap. But today, let's talk about narrowing the gap and eliminating the gap so that the transaction can happen. Remember, pushing a seller's price up is not helping him or serving him if you can't transact at that price. Convincing a buyer that he should get a much cheaper price is not helping him at all if you cannot achieve that price for him. It's very important that you approach things, you understand how to negotiate. And the main element of negotiation is establishing status for each of the parties, explaining to the buyer scientifically his position. Prior to that, explaining to the seller exactly his position, the situation of his property, what would it sell for, and this is your main base to negotiate from. So let's start with the seller. You go to the seller and you want to convince him to sell for a certain price. Remember again, raising the price is not helping him, it's harming him. The seller entrusting you with his property listing is not only entrusting you with your ethical standards, but also entrusting you from a capability and a professionalism point of view, from a knowledge point of view. So have a scientific approach, apply the knowledge, numbers, and rely on the facts to assess what the customer's property is worth, and remember what it could sell for. It has occurred plenty of times that we discussed with somebody and we told him we believe that a property is worth this much or should be worth this much. But today, unfortunately, it's not selling at that much. And remember, a property's value today is what somebody is ready to pay for it. So once you establish that, you can understand and explain to a seller why should he sell at a certain price, not another. And that price will be the fair price that you can achieve for his property today. This will help you with the buyer. Now you go to a buyer's side. Remember, you always represent one party and both parties should understand that. However, you need at the same time to represent what's right. You go to a buyer, and representing what's right does not mean leaving the buyer on the lowest price possible, getting the seller the highest price possible, because that's simply not possible. Okay? Not possible. Be realistic. Go to the buyer. Present the property and understand a property is not only an amount of square foot put together. Not really. Same type of property in a building. Two of them may mean a different value, although they may be the same amount of square foot. They may be in a way or other the same view. However, remember that the amount of light, the light exposure, there's many elements, how the property orientation is. A property and its mirror image may be different. So remember, people use property and they look at property for the convenience. It's the unique perceived benefit. And this is why people buy property. There's a full chapter, by the way, in Facilitating Purchases, my book, about FABs, USPs, and UPBs. Read it, please, and learn from it. Why do people buy anything? It applies to property. It applies to everything else. So while you're approaching a customer, while you're approaching a buyer, understand that you should be able to show him value, because price is irrelevant. Otherwise, he would have bought the cheapest property in the market. Value is relevant, and value is price relevant to convenience and utility. So convince him of a property by the facts. Why is the property valued at that much? Why do you believe he should pay that much for a property? When you explain the facts in a scientific manner and he understands that you're trustworthy, you're not trying to abuse him, you're not trying to oversell him something, you're just trying to establish the right relationship so that a transaction and a conversion can happen. It means you are fighting for what he wants. A transaction or a conversion can happen. That will allow your buyer to trust you more. And that will give you a better positioning while negotiating. Negotiating is the art of eliminating the gap between what a buyer wants and what a seller would want in general. And to eliminate that gap, you need, again, to explain to both the right position that they're in. You need to explain to both why are they in that position. You need to explain a buyer why should he pay that much. What's the difference between this property and other like properties around? Why would it demand more or less? And how should he buy it? And what is the price it can convert at? Remember, be ethical. No one is naive. Be ethical for your betterment, for your future. If you've been abusing people for the last 10 years, I'm sure you're sitting today watching this video and you have no customers on hand. If you've not, you would have people today who want to purchase, and they would trust you with asking you for their opinion. That is right, the scientific opinion on what should they buy and how should they buy. And that will be money generating for you. So negotiating is not the art of convincing someone going to go for a property that is a ripoff to him. It's not convincing a seller to drop a price below what's needed. Remember, the only thing you need is to have a transaction happen. Thus, it's helping the seller offer a property at the price it can sell at. It's helping the buyer offer for a property the price it can sell at. Negotiate the right way and keep on walking. Make your day a great day.